If this video found you at this moment, Aquarius, I don't think that's just random. There's a really strong shift in the energy as we move into the month of June. Not loud, not chaotic, but strong enough for you to feel that something in your life is slowly beginning to change direction. Some of you may have already been sensing this for a while now. Small signs, repeating synchronicities, little moments that feel impossible to ignore. It's almost like the path ahead is starting to clear after a long stretch of emotional heaviness and uncertainty. And before we go deeper into today's reading, I want you to try something simple. If this message is resonating with you already, leave this in the comments below to lock the energy in. June is opening new doors for me. And now, let's slow everything down for a moment and step into the message Spirit is trying to bring through for Aquarius during this season of your life. Wow. Aquarius, the first card that comes through here is the Star card. And honestly, the energy of this card alone made me stop for a few seconds before continuing the reading. There's something very different happening around you as we move into June. Not loud, not instantly dramatic. It feels more like waking up one morning and realizing the way you see the world has quietly started to change. Things that kept you emotionally stuck for months don't seem to carry the same weight anymore. Certain thoughts are leaving your mind more gently now. And even some people are beginning to feel strangely unfamiliar in ways that are hard to explain. And the interesting thing is, I think Aquarius has been sensing this shift long before this video even appeared in front of you. Maybe lately you've been seeing repeating numbers everywhere. 111, 112. Or you keep hearing the same song at oddly specific moments that somehow feel important. Some of you may also be waking up at unusual hours recently, 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and then just lying there in silence, staring at the ceiling. Like your mind is trying to process a layer of emotion your daytime self hasn't fully touched yet. I don't really feel an ending energy here. This feels more like a threshold. Like you're standing between two versions of yourself. One version that has grown exhausted from silently carrying everything alone. And another version that's beginning to want a more honest relationship with its own energy. The Star card always carries this feeling of deep restoration for me. Not healing in the overly positive, always in the light kind of way. More like the kind of healing that happens after you've been emotionally exhausted for a very long time. Aquarius is usually very good at adapting to the outside world, but sometimes you become so used to hiding your inner exhaustion that nobody realizes how much you've actually been carrying. And I feel like June is slowly pulling you out of that state. There's a strong energy trying to guide Aquarius back toward themselves again. Not just existing to keep everything around you comfortable anymore. Not forcing yourself to stay connected to things that no longer feel aligned with who you're becoming. Wow. And right beside the Star card, the Wheel of Fortune card appears here. And this really feels like the energy around Aquarius is finally beginning to move again after a long stagnant stretch. Some of you may have gone through months where everything felt paused, delayed plans, conversations with no real clarity, long periods of uncertainty that made you question whether you were even moving in the right direction. But the energy here doesn't feel stuck anymore. It feels like a door slowly opening. Not all at once, just enough for light to begin coming through. I also feel some Aquarius are starting to think differently about their future now. Some of you may want to change your environment. Some are feeling called to create content, share your voice, or become more visible in some way. Others may be quietly learning something new without telling anyone yet. And what I really like about this energy is that it's no longer coming from panic. It's not that feeling of, I need to change my whole life immediately before it's too late. No, this feels much softer than that. It's more like a quiet inner voice beginning to say, maybe I don't need to keep living as the old version of myself anymore. And honestly, that alone is already a huge shift. I also feel Aquarius's intuition becoming much stronger during this period. You may notice other people's energy faster than usual. You walk into a room and instantly know whether you belong there or not. You speak with someone for only a few minutes and can already feel whether their energy leaves you heavy or lighter. And that's why I think your environment matters deeply this month. The room you sleep in, the music you listen to, the people you spend the most time around. Even the lighting inside your space feels like it's affecting your nervous system more than you realize. I keep seeing this image of an Aquarius standing near a window late in the afternoon. Soft silver blue light reflecting across the wall, their phone quieter than usual. And for the first time in a long time, they can finally hear their own inner voice clearly again. Not the noise of social media, not other people's expectations, their real intuition. And then the Judgment card comes through here. And it really feels like Aquarius is entering a powerful awakening in the way you perceive yourself and your life. You're starting to look back at things differently. Certain past experiences suddenly carry new meaning. Old emotional wounds no longer seem to control you the way they once did. Not because you forgot them, but because you're beginning to understand how much you've actually grown through them. And the Ace of Wands card appearing at the end of this spread feels beautiful. It carries the feeling of a spark slowly returning, creativity, motivation, curiosity about life again. And honestly, I think that's what Aquarius has truly been missing for a while. Not talent, not potential, but the genuine desire to open your heart to life again. There's something about this month that feels like it's helping you reconnect with the version of yourself that existed before too much pressure made you shrink your own energy. I don't think this kind of transformation happens overnight, but I do feel Aquarius standing very close to a new doorway in life right now. And the deeper I go into this reading, the more I feel certain old energies beginning to lose their hold on you, especially the ones that kept you emotionally stuck for a very long time. And Aquarius, as I go deeper into this reading, the Devil card comes through here. But strangely enough, this card doesn't make me feel fear. It makes me feel tired. The kind of tiredness that probably only people who've spent too long trying to hold everything together would truly understand. That feeling of continuing to function every single day, even though your energy has been running low for a very long time. I think some Aquarius have become so used to living in a constant state of overstimulation that the body no longer remembers what real rest even feels like anymore. The phone constantly vibrating. Too many thoughts running at the same time. Too many people's energy touching yours every single day. And then eventually, you start feeling like you're disappearing from your own life. I keep seeing this image of someone sitting in a dim blue-lit room close to midnight. The laptop is still open, messages still unanswered, music playing softly somewhere in the background. But inside of them, complete silence. Not peaceful silence. The kind of silence that shows up after the mind has been overloaded for far too long. And honestly, I don't think the Devil card here represents something dark in the dramatic way people often assume. It feels more like old energetic loops Aquarius has lived with for so long, they started mistaking them for personality traits. Always needing to stay strong, always being the understanding one, always staying calm, always showing up like you're okay. And the thing is, Aquarius gets so good at doing this that sometimes nobody realizes how emotionally exhausted you actually are. I feel like some people around you became comfortable with that version of you. The version that's always available, always listening, always trying to save everything before it falls apart. But I think something inside Aquarius this month is beginning to resist living that way any longer. Not because you're becoming cold, but because your body and mind are trying to guide you back towards yourself again. Wow. And then the Eight of Swords card appears right after that. This card carries such a deep feeling of long-term mental exhaustion. And not every chain in Aquarius's life came from other people. Some of them were created by fear within yourself, fear of disappointing people, fear of changing too much, fear of stepping away from familiar things, even when they no longer make you happy anymore. And honestly, the hardest thing to release may actually be the old version of yourself. I feel Aquarius slowly realizing there are roles you've carried for far too long. The one who always understands, the mature one, the one who always knows how to handle everything. But the longer you stay trapped inside those roles, the further away you drift from your real emotions. I also feel many Aquarius pulling inward lately, replying less, going out less, needing more quiet than usual. And honestly, I don't think that's a bad thing. There are seasons where the soul needs silence so the nervous system can finally recover. Then the Moon card comes through here, and suddenly the energy of this reading becomes incredibly deep. It feels like Aquarius walking through a long, dark hallway inside your own inner world, not to stay trapped there, but to finally see the things you've spent years avoiding. There are emotions you once tried to rationalize through logic, but the body doesn't really lie. You feel it when places that once excited you suddenly feel emotionally empty. When conversations that used to feel familiar now leave you disconnected. Or when being around certain people for too long suddenly drains you completely. I think Aquarius is beginning to see energy much more clearly now. Not just hearing words anymore, but feeling the vibration underneath them. And sometimes, that's exactly why you've been feeling a little lonely lately. Because once intuition becomes stronger, it gets harder to return to things you already know no longer align with your spirit. And then the Death card appears at the end of this section very quietly. Not dramatic, not chaotic. It feels more like standing inside an old room after almost everything has already been packed away. You know a chapter is closing, even if it hasn't fully disappeared yet. And I think Aquarius is somewhere in the middle of that transition right now, still seeing traces of old energies around you, but internally, no longer wanting to live the same way anymore. And the strongest thing I feel here is this. Aquarius no longer wants to keep sacrificing themselves just to keep everything around them emotionally stable. Other people may not fully recognize this shift in you yet, but your soul already does. It's beginning to crave more honest conversations, lighter connections, spaces where you can finally exhale instead of constantly holding yourself together. And the deeper I move into this reading, the more it feels like Aquarius is getting closer and closer to a completely different version of themselves. A version that no longer wants to live only in survival mode anymore. And Aquarius, I honestly feel like the first thing changing here isn't your outer world. It's the way you're beginning to see things more clearly. The Queen of Swords card comes through very strongly in this part of the reading, but not in the cold or emotionally distant way people usually associate with this card. It feels more like someone who has finally grown tired of betraying their own intuition. I think Aquarius has always sensed more than you let people realize. But for a long time, you may have tried to explain everything away through logic, just to make it easier to live with. You knew a relationship was draining you. But part of you kept saying, maybe they're just going through a difficult time. You knew your body needed rest. But you kept pushing yourself until your body finally started speaking louder than your mind. You knew certain places no longer matched your energy anymore. But you stayed anyway because you didn't want to disappoint anyone. And honestly, I think Aquarius has spent too much time trying to understand everything, to the point where you almost forgot that intuition doesn't always need endless explanations in order to be real. The Queen of Swords card feels like the moment the mind finally begins waking up after a very long sleep, no longer viewing life through the fog of old emotional conditioning, no longer searching for reasons to stay in places that make your spirit feel smaller. I keep seeing this image of an Aquarius quietly reorganizing their space late at night. Maybe it's just folding clothes, deleting old photos from your phone, turning off unnecessary notifications, changing the playlist you listen to every day. Small things. But the energy behind them feels huge. Because sometimes healing doesn't begin with one dramatic moment. Sometimes it begins when you stop allowing the things that exhaust you to keep touching your life every single day. Wow. And right beside the Queen of Swords card, the Magician card appears here. And this really feels like Aquarius slowly reclaiming personal power piece by piece. Not becoming a completely different person. More like remembering who you actually were before pressure, expectations, and emotional survival mode made you forget. I think many Aquarius became so used to pouring energy into other people, you stopped realizing how powerful your intuition actually is. You can feel the atmosphere of a room within seconds of walking in. You know when someone is genuine and when something feels hidden behind their smile. You sense when the energy of a relationship begins changing before words are ever spoken. But sometimes Aquarius still doubts those feelings. Maybe because you were called too sensitive at some point in your life. Or because you work so hard to appear calm, detached, rational. But I really feel your intuition sharpening this month in a very deep way. Not loudly. Not dramatically. It's just becoming harder and harder to force yourself to stay connected to places that make your soul contract inward. Then the Justice card comes through here, and it feels like Aquarius is learning boundaries in a much more mature way now. Not disappearing from the world completely every time you get hurt. Not silently tolerating everything until you explode and cut people off. This feels softer than that. Like you're finally beginning to understand what deserves access to your energy, and what doesn't. I also feel some Aquarius speaking less lately, explaining less, arguing less, trying less to prove you're right. Not because you've given up, but because you're realizing that protecting your nervous system matters more than winning a conversation. And honestly, I even feel some of you changing the way you speak to yourselves internally. Less self-criticism, less pressure to be perfect. Less feeling like you constantly need to outrun everyone else just to feel valuable. And this connects very deeply to frequency shifting, because sometimes new energy doesn't come from trying harder to manifest. Sometimes it comes from your body finally feeling safe enough to stop living in survival mode. And when the King of Swords card appears at the end of this section, the energy feels very different, quieter, clearer, more stable, not powerful in a way that tries to impress the world. More like the kind of strength that forms when you finally begin trusting your own inner knowing again. I keep seeing this image of someone driving very late at night after a long day. No music playing, just the sound of the wind outside the car window. And for the first time in a very long time, their mind no longer feels unbearably loud. not because every problem disappeared, but because inside of them, space has finally started opening up to breathe again. And honestly, I think that's where the new version of Aquarius is beginning to form. Not built from pressure to become somebody else, but built from honesty with your own energy. And the deeper I move into this reading, the more it feels like an entirely new path is slowly beginning to reveal itself in front of Aquarius now. And Aquarius, I think what surprises you the most during this season is the realization that after everything you've been through lately, some part of you still hasn't gone dark. There's still a part of you that wants to create something. Still a part of you that wants to touch life in a more honest way again. And when the Two of Wands card comes through here, it really feels like Aquarius is standing in front of a wide open doorway to the future. Not in the sense of knowing exactly where everything is leading yet, but for the first time in a long time, you're beginning to feel like there may actually be something ahead worth continuing toward. I keep seeing this image of someone sitting in front of a laptop late at night for hours, maybe writing something, searching for a new idea, watching videos about a skill they want to learn, or maybe just quietly looking at a different kind of life and asking themselves, what if I really started over? And honestly, I think that question matters more than Aquarius realizes right now, because sometimes expansion doesn't begin with changing your entire life overnight. Sometimes it begins the moment you allow yourself to imagine that you deserve a different reality. The Page of Wands card carries such a live energy here, but not loud energy. It feels more like a small spark, finally returning after a long season where everything felt emotionally heavy. I think part of Aquarius is becoming curious about life again. You may suddenly want to try something you never considered before. A personal project, a new place, a different way of expressing yourself, a new social media account, a creative idea that keeps replaying in your mind right before sleep. And what feels important here is that these ideas aren't coming from pressure anymore. They're not coming from needing to prove yourself to the world. They're coming from the desire to feel more connected to who you actually are. I think many Aquarius stayed in survival mode for so long. You forgot what it feels like to create something simply because your soul wants to. Not for recognition, not to compete. Just because the energy inside of you wants to move again instead of staying trapped. And then the star card appears again in this part of the reading, so beautifully. But this time the energy feels different from the beginning. Earlier it felt like healing. Now it feels like a signal. Like the universe keeps sending small signs trying to guide Aquarius away from the old version of yourself. A song appearing at the perfect moment. A random sentence you read that stays in your mind all day. A stranger saying exactly what you needed to hear. Or that strange feeling that you no longer belong in certain places that once felt familiar. I really think Aquarius is entering a phase where synchronicities become much stronger. Not to predict the future, but to remind you that your intuition has been alive the entire time. And the more you begin trusting your own inner knowing, the more your presence in the world starts changing too. Then the Judgment card comes through here, and it feels like something is awakening very deeply around self-expression. Some Aquarius may finally want to say things you've kept silent about for a very long time. Some are no longer pretending to be okay all the time. Some are beginning to share their real perspective instead of saying, what keeps everyone comfortable? And honestly, I feel some Aquarius slowly becoming more visible during this period. But the interesting thing is, the more attention you receive, the less interested you become in performing for people. You no longer want to wear so many emotional masks. You no longer want to become the most acceptable version of yourself for everybody else. And I think that's where the real shift begins. I keep seeing this image of a city very late at night. Streetlights reflecting across wet pavement after a light rain. An Aquarius walking alone with headphones on beneath silver blue city lights. And maybe outwardly, their life hasn't fully changed yet. But internally, they're no longer the same person anymore. They're choosing differently, thinking differently, feeling differently. And sometimes the biggest changes begin in these very quiet ways. I also think Aquarius is beginning to understand that purpose doesn't always arrive as one massive life mission all at once. Sometimes purpose is simply the feeling of finally reconnecting with yourself after being energetically scattered for too long. Getting to do things that make you feel alive again. Being around people who don't keep your nervous system tense. Waking up without feeling trapped inside an identity that no longer fits your spirit. And the deeper I move into this reading, the more it feels like Aquarius is getting very close to becoming a version of themselves they once believed only existed in imagination. And Aquarius, when I step back and look at this entire reading as a whole, the strongest feeling I get is this. You are no longer standing in the same energetic space you were in a few months ago. Maybe outwardly, some things still look the same for now. The same road every morning, the same room, the same familiar conversations. But your soul has already started moving. And when the World card comes through here, it feels like a very long cycle in Aquarius's life is slowly coming to a close. Not in the sense that everything suddenly disappears overnight. More like the energy of it no longer has the power to keep you there anymore. Places that once felt like home now feel emotionally heavy. Conversations that used to last for hours now drain you within minutes. And certain older versions of yourself, you simply can't fully step back into them anymore. And honestly, I think that's why many Aquarius have been feeling both lighter and lonelier at the same time lately. Because when an old timeline begins closing, there's often this strange in-between space. You haven't fully entered the next chapter yet, but you no longer belong to the old one either. Then the Temperance card appears here so softly, and it makes me think of someone standing quietly in the kitchen, very late at night, slowly pouring a glass of water after a long day, no longer rushing the way they used to, no longer forcing themselves to figure everything out immediately, just learning how to be with themselves without feeling emotionally overwhelmed by it. And honestly, I think this summer is teaching Aquarius a very different kind of balance. Not balance in the sense of making every part of life perfect, but balance between continuing to move forward without abandoning your nervous system in the process anymore. There's something inside you now that wants a slower life, a more intentional life, a more honest life. And the interesting thing is, the less Aquarius tries to become everything for everyone else, the more connected you begin feeling to your own energy again. The Nine of Pentacles card carries such beautiful energy here, not look at me energy. More like the energy of someone who is finally becoming comfortable inside their own private world. I keep seeing this image of an Aquarius opening the window early in the morning, soft silver light moving through the curtains, the room quieter than before, their phone no longer being the first thing they reach for after waking up. And maybe you're beginning to experience silence differently now. Maybe you're starting to enjoy your own company in a way that no longer feels lonely. And honestly, I think that's a huge sign of healing. Because healing doesn't always look like happiness. Sometimes, healing is simply the moment you finally stop abandoning yourself. I also feel many Aquarius slowly changing the community around them during this period. Some connections naturally becoming more distant. Certain people quietly fading out of your rhythm without major drama. And at the same time, new connections beginning to appear very gently. An unexpected conversation. A person who makes you feel understood without endless explanation. A new environment where your body finally relaxes instead of staying tense all the time. And when the Ten of Cups card comes through here, it really feels like Aquarius is beginning to redefine what abundance actually means. Not reaching some perfect image of life before finally feeling worthy, but being able to exist inside moments that calm your mind. Being around people who don't make you constantly protect your energy. Being able to exist without endlessly proving your value. And honestly, I think that's a very different kind of wealth. Then the Judgment card appears one final time here, almost like a distant echo that somehow still feels incredibly clear. It doesn't feel forceful. It feels softer than that. Like something deep inside Aquarius is slowly waking up after spending a very long time simply trying to survive each day. And I don't think summer is only changing the way Aquarius sees the world. I think it's changing the way you exist inside the world itself, the way you walk into a room, the way you speak about yourself, the way you decide who gets access to your energy. Even the way you're beginning to look at the future now. And I keep seeing this final image very clearly. An Aquarius walking beneath silver blue morning light just before sunrise. The city's still half asleep, everything quiet. But for the first time in a very long time, they no longer feel trapped inside the old version of their life anymore. And maybe that's the moment a new chapter finally begins opening from within. An Aquarius. Before I close out this reading, there's one thing I keep feeling very strongly as I look back over your energy as a whole. You are no longer living inside the same inner space you were before. Even if there are still difficult days sometimes. Even if moments of doubt still come and go. Even if there are nights where you lie awake for hours with too many thoughts moving through your mind. Something inside you has already started waking up. This is no longer just survival mode. You're no longer simply trying to make it through each day while feeling disconnected from yourself the entire time. I think Aquarius is stepping into a very strange but very honest season of life, where your soul wants to live in alignment with its real energy again. And maybe that's why the signs around you have been showing up more often lately. of 111, 112, of 113, 114. Repeating numbers appearing at the exact moment you're deeply thinking about something. A song suddenly playing the exact lyric you needed to hear. A feather appearing somewhere unexpected along your path. Or the moment you look up and see birds crossing the sky while your mind feels completely overwhelmed. And honestly, I don't think these signs are appearing to hand you all the answers. Sometimes I think they simply appear to remind Aquarius that your intuition is still alive. That somewhere inside you, there's still a part trying to guide you back toward your real energy again. I also feel dreams becoming very strong for Aquarius during this period. Some dreams may not make complete sense right away, but the feeling they leave behind after you wake up feels unmistakably real. Almost like the subconscious is slowly peeling away layers of old energy you've carried for far too long. And honestly, I think the most beautiful part of this reading isn't about how quickly the outside world changes. It's about the way Aquarius is beginning to change the way you exist inside the world itself, abandoning yourself less, living less for everyone else's expectations, forcing yourself less to stay connected to things that no longer fit your spirit. And maybe there's still a lot about this journey that Aquarius can't fully see yet. But honestly, I think you've already come much farther than you realize. Far beyond the version of yourself that once believed you had to carry everything alone. And I keep seeing this final image so clearly. An Aquarius standing beneath soft silver blue morning skies, the city still quiet, cool air moving gently around them, the future not fully visible yet. But for the first time in a very long time, they no longer feel trapped inside their own life anymore. And if this reading found you at the right moment, Aquarius, leave a sign or an angel number you've been seeing lately down in the comments below. I genuinely love to hear your story. And if this energy resonated with you in some way, don't forget to subscribe and stay with me for the next readings ahead. Thank you for spending this time here with me. Be gentle with your soul, Aquarius. And I'll see you again very soon.